are surely heating up in the single life, and I'm shook.
Yeah, I don't know what's so funny.
Why are y'all laughing?
John is like a child. You have two titles for sure.
Hi guys, welcome back to Nikki Faces Reality. We're here to discuss the latest episode of The Single Life. We have a lot to cover, so let's jump right in. So let's start with Natalie. Natalie takes her mom to this Halloween fest. It's their first American holiday together. It seems like it's gonna be a nice night, right? No. Natalie's going around and she's describing, the different traditions that they have in America because apparently they don't celebrate Halloween in the Ukraine. And she's failing to mention that Halloween has a scary element. I would think that you'd want to, save your mom from a heart attack and give her a warning. But this Halloween fest seemed pretty tamed. It seemed pretty family friendly. And so, they're looking around and her mom seems really pleased, really excited. So much so that she's like, you definitely need to come back here with your family, when you have kids. Yeah, I can't wait for you to have kids. So about that, the mom is like, yeah, you should definitely come back here with your family and Josh too. And then the producer asks Natalie, so why isn't Josh here? And she's like, oh, Josh is in Arizona. He's spending Halloween with his kids. And she's feeling salty about it. And so last episode, she was saying all these things that she feels so appreciative of Josh, right? He got her a place. He got her a car. He's been helping her with opportunities. But now we're back to the root of their issue, which is that they are on different pages. She feels like she should be there with his kids, celebrating all the holidays, and she still hasn't visited his place. But as you guys remember, it's not all as it seems, right? Josh has always told her that he lives with one of his kids and he doesn't feel comfortable just bringing anyone around until it's very serious because he doesn't want to expose his kids to that. Obviously, this is not what Natalie wants. If it were up to her, they'd be married right now. I personally think Josh has given her a lot for what they are, which is a big question mark. Obviously, that's not what Natalie thinks. Natalie is not my favorite person. She is amazing for TV, but she's not my favorite person. But in this segment, I feel like we learned crucial information as to why she is how she is. She really feels overall that she's being hidden, and that's not a good feeling. I think that we can all agree on that. So she finally confides in her mom. She's like, I've been not wanting really to tell you because I don't want to let you down and it's embarrassing, but things aren't that good with Josh. So she tells her mom everything, and her mom is like, so he's not really letting you in his life. He's acting strange. He doesn't let you meet his kids, his mother. What are you doing? And she flat out is like, Natalie, I want grandkids. I want a family. Like, drop this mess. This is the part that I was like, oh my God. So Natalie's mom tells us that in the Ukraine, if you've been dating a man for a month, they ask you to move in because they have every intention to marry you. That's actually how it happened with Natalie's first husband. And this to me was so illuminating because it explains why Natalie is constantly on the fast track. That's what she knows to be normal. So while her approach still makes my skin crawl, I can empathize with it. It's definitely not how we move in America to a fault. We move a little slower, a lot slower, but I can imagine that she feels out of her mind. And we're reminded that Natalie has been married 3 times. It sounds like she has regrets about her first marriage. It sounds like it was the right guy, but at the wrong time. She was very young and, she just wanted more. And I think that now, hindsight is like, oh, that was actually a good matchup. She apparently hated her second guy, and her third marriage was with Mike, which we saw how that went. But you would think that with her track record, she wouldn't waste a minute on a guy like Josh, a guy that won't give her the commitment or the intention of commitment right off the bat. Because when you think about it, they've been dating for a year, right? But all the benefits that she highlighted the last episode, she didn't get it until she moved to California, and she practically had to beg for it. And her mom is laying it thick in this conversation, right? She's like, you need someone solid. He isn't solid. He doesn't provide. And We can agree to disagree. Again, these two people have completely different expectations of how a relationship goes. But I can understand in mama's eyes and with their culture, they feel like, they're getting the short end of the stick. And while I'm sure it feels good to confide in her mom, I think that this also makes her feel shitty, right? Like, she really wanted Josh to impress her mom. She really wanted her mom to like Josh. She obviously values her mom's opinion and she didn't want to let her down. And she has this real moment where, she takes her mask off and she's like, Mom, I just didn't want you to view me as a failure. You keep expecting grandkids with each relationship, and I just keep giving you divorce. And that's tough because sometimes our family puts pressure, but sometimes we put an unnecessarily huge amount of pressure on ourselves, and that must be hard. But after this talk, Natalie's mom is furious, and this has Natalie's wheels turning about what to do next. And obviously, the next conversation has to be with Josh. So in the next scene, we see her getting ready, and it almost feels like she's getting ready for war. So, given her expectation and how things move back home in the Ukraine, she feels like Josh has been leading her on for a year. I would love to hear your thoughts on it in the comments. But behind the scenes, her last straw is that Josh has told her that he's spending Christmas with his kids, which of course he is, right? But Natalie's like, we should be spending those familial holidays together. So I will buy a ticket to Arizona. And he's like, no, don't do that. You can't be here. Like, my daughter doesn't know you. We're not at that step yet. And Natalie is furious. She's pissed. She's like, and you could see that her fantasy is falling apart before her eyes. And she says that her brain is telling her like what the answer should be, that she should put an end to their relationship, but her heart is having a hard time. I don't doubt that Natalie likes Josh, but I do think that a lot of it is the fantasy of the American dream, the fantasy of settling down with someone that is in the industry that she likes, someone that can set her up and they can be this power couple. And it's hard when your fantasies burst before your eyes. Back to the conversation that they had about her not coming to Arizona because he's like, you don't know my kids yet. She feels like these are constant excuses, that he always has an excuse for something of why he can't show up for her or include her. And my thing is, Josh had these strong boundaries before she moved to LA. If you guys remember, there was an episode, I think in the first season, or her first season of The Single Life, where she went to visit Josh, and she was like, oh, we're not going to your place? And he took her to an Airbnb, and he was like, no, my place, my daughter lives there, and we're not at that place where I can introduce you. I don't want to just introduce her to girlfriends, which I respect. And Natalie knew that this is how he moved in his life. Also, it sounds like he has kids with different women, and like he also has to respect their mothers, So she has to get with that timeline. And in this meltdown, while she's getting ready, she's like crying. She's like, if I would have known that he was going to be like this, I wouldn't have came here. I wouldn't have moved to LA for him. Natalie, didn't you say that you moved here for you and for your dreams and aspirations? Funny how the truth comes out, huh? There's nothing wrong with moving for a man, but own it. And she was not owning it in the beginning. She was lying to herself, she was lying to her mother, and it's unnecessary pressure for someone that is not reciprocating your same level of intensity. I just feel like these two are not talking enough about the reality that they're sharing, because when they pan to Josh is at this restaurant. He's going into this lunch thinking about completely different things. He thinks that he's just having a casual lunch with his girlfriend, but in the back of his head, the conflict is that his friends think that he's being taken advantage of. So he's going into this lunch trying to suss out her intentions. Oh boy. He has no idea the kind of hurricane that is coming his way. Because here we have a situation of a guy that thinks that he's giving too much, and then his girlfriend thinks that he's giving too little. So yeah, this should be interesting. We didn't get to see the extent of their date. We just saw Natalie walking into the restaurant and he's like, hi. And she's glaring at him, giving him the death stare. And yeah, next week it looks like it's gonna be a nasty fight. She ends up crying. That's what they showed us. She was crying on the sidewalk. Ooh, it's gonna be messy, but I'm looking forward to seeing it. But on to the next, something a little lighter. We're going to Tyray'S. So we're back in NOLA, and Tyray'S is getting ready with his brothers. On the date with the woman that he met at brunch. Her name was Teresa. She was really nice. So he's getting ready, and I really love Tyray'S brothers. They're so affirming. They're giving him compliments. They're really trying to boost his self-esteem, giving him tips, and it's so cute to see how naive Tyray'S is. He's here trying to practice how he would kiss someone because he's never been kissed, and he's never been on a date because our girl Tiffany left him hanging. Tiffany, we need to talk. But one thing about Tyray'S, he's gonna plan a nice date, okay? So apparently he planned a voodoo walking tour through NOLA and lunch. And I just think that's a very cute first date. So if you guys recall, Teresa is in NOLA for a girls trip, right? I don't know what time of day her date with Tyray'S is, but she shows up in athleisure wear, which is fine because it's really hot over there. But her face is red like she was running a marathon. She tells us that she's actually coming from a swamp tour. She goes, I hope I don't smell like swamp. And Terry's like, no, you smell good. And so I'm like, okay. She seems really nice, very chill. I just don't know that this is a romantic date at this point. It's really hard to read. As I said, she's shown up to this date a bit sweaty. But she's wearing black, so you can't really see it, only in her face. However, Tyray'S is wearing a baby blue shirt, and he's already sweating through it. That Louisiana heat is no joke. If you know, you know. I went there once when I was in middle school, and I nearly passed out. It was so hot, and it was the driest heat you could ever imagine. So a walking tour sounds like a lot, but if they like it, I love it. They seem to be in really good spirits. Their tour guide saw the cameras and he said, lights, camera, action. He was going full out. And it was funny because it was just them two on the tour. If it was a big group, I think that it would have been funnier, but it was a little awkward. And it's so hot. It's apparently 105 degrees, and it's making Tyray'S feel a little self-conscious because, again, he's literally sweating through his shirt. No one was making a fuss about it. They weren't making comments about, you know, their appearance. It was really nice. So Risa says that she just got out of a relationship, but she's a hopeless romantic and relatable. And she says Tyray'S is so nice and he's gonna make a great partner. And she stops herself and she smiles, and I was like, the unspoken part of he's gonna make a great partner for someone else or a great partner someday. She was being so nice, and I was like, this girl does not like him like that. Did you guys get that feeling as well in this moment? Let me know. So they get in the car and get to lunch, and they keep getting to know each other and ask each other things like, what are you looking for in a partner? And, you know, she tells us that she's gotten out of a divorce and, you know, she's really on a self-discovery journey and she's just looking for adventure. And personally, that sounds amazing and I love that for her, but I don't think that sounds like someone that would be willing to be someone's first girlfriend. Right off there, I was like, it's not happening. But I don't think Tyray'S fully grasped that, because then his next question was, how do you feel about long distance relationships? And so she says that she's cautious about long distance relationships. She has seen them go sour because she has been in the military, and it just wouldn't be something that she'd be down for. And you could see that this bummed Tyray'S a bit. They both agreed that they would stay in touch and that if she travels somewhere that's close by to him, that she'll let him know. And that she's open to getting to know him. But it's very clear that they're not moving forward in a in the romantic sense. And then she ended the lunch short because she had to go back to her girls' trip. And Tyray, I really love this for him. One, because not every person that you're going to go on a date with is going to be your next big love, your next relationship. Um, and he's never been on a date before. So I would actually encourage him to go on a few to practice his people skills. I think he did great. I think it was a great first date. Sure, he didn't get the kiss that he wanted, but I don't think he's ready for a kiss yet. I think that he needs to keep dating. We're already seeing progress. He didn't do that weird laugh thing that he did. We're moving on up. So I'm really excited to see Tyray continue dating, and I really want him to find someone that really likes him and is on the same page, but that may take a few dates. We'll be keeping up with him. But let's go to John in Las Vegas. John is picking up Megan at the airport, and he's really excited. Apparently, Megan has never left Texas, and he's really excited to experience this with her. It's very cute. He says that in the time that they've been together and in this time apart after his last trip, he's really fallen for her and he loves her. He said the L word. And he feels like he's ready to take that step to move with her to Texas. But before they can do that, it's very important that she knows him for real, that he meets his people, that she sees him in his natural environment. Megan is really excited to be here because she's afraid that he's just telling her what he wants her to hear. And Megan, while she's very nice and very understanding and seems like very laid back, she's not playing about her life. She says that she has been single for a long time and intentionally, and she has a plan for her and her daughter. And she's like, if he does not want to move after this trip, then we're breaking up. And she said that just like and I believe her. She gets to where John is living, which is his younger brother's place, and she looks around and she's like, a man lives here. Because what is this? She was like, am I gonna have to organize a little bit before I can like settle in? Because there's boxes everywhere, and then there's a luggage, and she opens it and it's filled with clothes, and she's like, why do you have all your things in there still? And he's like, oh, well, that's my dresser. He's using a luggage as a dresser. John, we're too old for this. She doesn't make a huge fuss and she doesn't make him feel crappy about it, but she is side-eyeing him like, you will not be in charge of decor when we live together, that's for sure. And so the next time we see them is meeting Patrick and Tyray'S. John is really scared for her to meet his family because apparently they did not like his ex and that really affected him. And so he wants this to go well. But I don't know how well it could go when they pan to Patrick and Patrick is completely downplaying this relationship. It isn't fair off the bat. I talked about before when they introduced John that I feel like they won't let him evolve from this role that he has played of the drunk uncle, the uncle that can't take care of himself, the uncle that, just all these negative frat boy connotations. They won't let him evolve from that box. And it really comes out in this moment. Patrick asks Megan if she thinks that he'll be a good father figure. And Meg makes it clear that her daughter's father is very involved in her life, and that, her daughter has her own father. She just needs John to be a good father figure in the home because obviously he's going to be around. So she just needs him, to play the part well and to be supportive. John and Patrick grew up with their stepdad, so they understand the magnitude of that role. And so John is like, I'm scared of this because I know what it takes, but I'm ready to take it on.
We grew up with a stepdad, like,
Yeah.
it's a big ass role for you to fill.
I know.
And that's why I told him.
And it's kind of scary. I ain't gonna lie, but I can do it. Right there.
Tyray'S is here, and Tyray'S has a love-hate relationship with John. And so Tyray'S is like, well, you're gonna have 2 kids if John lives with you. John is like, okay, you guys need to cut it out. And Tyray'S is like, what? You were involved in our relationship, and I don't think that's fair. John and Tyray'S had issues because they were living together. They were literal roommates, and they had a completely different cultures, and they both had to adjust to the dynamics of Patrick being the center of their world, and all of a sudden they had to split him. And the drama that John and Tyray'S had was between them. He was never going out and about embarrassing Tyray'S. So I just thought that it was a bit uncalled for her to just embarrass him in front of his partner. It felt a bit emasculating too. That's what I think. You guys can let me know in the comments what you think. And so with Patrick and Tyray'S really tearing him down, I feel like this only affirms John's decision to keep details of his relationship private. And so Patrick continues and he's like, well, being in this relationship is going to make you be the person that you said you didn't want to be, a father. And John is like, I never said I didn't want to be a father. I said I didn't want to have a baby. And I get that. But let's play devil's advocate. Let's say he didn't want to be a father at all. And let's say that was true. People are allowed to change. They don't need your permission to change. Give the people that you love the chance and the freedom to grow and evolve without your judgment. And Meg didn't seem fazed by all this shit talking. Of course, it wasn't good.
Like, I've always said, like, I wanted to have, like, two, like, one girl and one boy.
Well, John definitely doesn't want one.
Of course, it wasn't good to hear it, but what really bummed her was that she had hopes of having another kid. And, you know, all of their comments and then this big revelation about John not wanting to grow a family with her is giving her a lot to think about. Of course, I understand why she feels bad, but I'm just like, how have you guys not had this conversation? You guys are having these conversations about you wanting him to move with you, which would imply building a life together. I'm just surprised that they didn't talk about details like that. Looks like they will get to talk about those things in the next episode. I will say I'm really, even though she was obviously stunned, I really respect how Megan didn't start antagonizing John in the table. He was already being attacked by Patrick and Tyray'S, and I just appreciated that she was just silent. And wasn't making him feel like shit, you know? Like, whatever issues you have as a couple, talk about that in private. And I just feel like she handled that with a lot of integrity. But her mind was spiraling, and I feel really bad for her. For John, he really did not deserve that. But I'm really looking forward to seeing them talk it out. I really hope that they work it out. Let me know what you guys think about this couple, because I really like them. But on to the next. It's really short. It's Tim. After the double date in hell with Veronica and Jamal, we see Tim and Luisa. They're going for a walk. Stop by this particular area to enjoy the view. And Luisa is giving Tim the eyes, okay? She's locked in. She's trying to seduce him. She looks incredible. And she's like, oh, I'm so happy that we can get this time alone. And Tim, y'all, cannot catch a clue. He's like, oh, was there something that you wanted to say that you didn't feel comfortable saying in front of them? And she's like, I didn't want to say anything. And she comes closer to him. And he's like, you're getting closer. At this point, she's begging him to kiss her. She's like, it's a beautiful night. I really don't want to talk. So she's getting closer, right? Like, she's like, lay it on me. And he's like, are you trying to force me to give you a kiss? And he's like, we can do a small one. I just ate. And I'm just like, is he really that big of a germaphobe? Because she's like, I just ate too. My breath probably smells like beans. So what? Like, lay it on me. They kiss a few times and she seems pleased. And I'm watching it and I'm like, Luisa, you deserve better. You are kind, you are beautiful, you handle uncomfortable situations like a rock star. To beg a man to show interest, to want to be close to you, it's a bit humiliating. Have to beg someone for the small things really pisses me off. And maybe I'm projecting on my own love life. It's just upsetting to watch because it's like, Tim, do you have eyes? And then what's upsetting is that Tim is like, you should be happy. And it's like, Tim, you're not doing anyone any favors. And you guys, I want to believe that Tim is not trying to be an asshole. I want to believe that Tim's heart is in the right place and that he's just a bit awkward. He's rusty. He hasn't dated in a while. But he just keeps saying the wrong things, and it's almost like he doesn't want to get out of that rut. Like, he doesn't want to learn how to say the right things. And I mean, Lisa's buying whatever he's selling, so that was it for Tim this episode. On to the next, Debbie. Debbie is in Miami still, as we know. She's recapping her date with Ruben to Julian, her son. And she says that Ruben is making her feel like a teenager, and it has her daydreaming again about what they could be. I'm sure she hasn't allowed herself to daydream since the Osama of it all. She's like, I want romance like they write in the books. And I'm like, yes, Debbie, I want that too.
I feel a passionate allure come from him. I want romance that books are made of and movies are made of. I like the big, panoramic assault of the senses.
But Julian is pressed on the detail that Debbie didn't tell Ruben that he's there, and he wants to meet him. And Debbie's like, no, I didn't want to tell him that you were here, because that's like a big just cloud over the situation. Also, you guys, they've only been on one date. I do get the Osama PTSD of it all, but relax, okay? And so Julian is like, oh, so where are we gonna go next? I mean, you went to Morocco, now we're in Miami. Is Canada next? Japan next? And Debbie's like, well, I like me some international. And Julian is just red. And Ruben calls her and she's like, okay, I'll be right there. And Julian is pissed. And Debbie's like, so long. And it's honestly, it looks like a teenager leaving their dad. Except it's supposed to be the other way. But I love this for Debbie. She's living her life, okay? And she pulls up to the front of the hotel. And there is Ruben the Cuban in a sports car. And it almost looks like a toy car. Definitely probably not the safest car. And they ride off. But before they ride off, we see that Julian was spying from the window. And he was talking all this shit to himself and to the cameraman. Of like, what does this guy think this is? This isn't safe for my mom. And he takes a picture of the car plaque. And he says that he's going to look into him. And I'm just like, Julian the cop is at it again. Can you get a background check on someone on the grounds of they give you a bad vibe? I know people are going to give shit to Julian about this, but he's a protective son and he's had to probably be that all his life because his mother, while amazing, is a bit aloof and just is very generous with her time and her money, and he's probably seen her to get taken advantage of. So I get it. Debbie and Ruben the Cuban pull up to this spot and they have a little cafecito, and she's like, I really like you and I want to keep getting to know you and you me. So you should know that I have two very protective kids, one of which is here. And Ruben is like, he's here? Like he came with you? I thought that was so funny. He admits that it is awkward. I mean, this is, after all, only their second date. It's a bit too soon to meet each other's kids, but if that's important to her, he'll do it. He's intimidated, though, by this, and he's like, Julian's a cop. Like, I hope he doesn't, interrogate me like I'm a criminal. Julian will. Julian will. Ruben is so nice, and I would hate for him to be scared off. And yeah, you guys, that's what happened this week in the single life. It looks like things are really heating up. I'm so excited for next week. We're going to see a few blow-ups next week. We're going to see Natalie and Josh's blow-up. We're going to see Veronica and Jamal apparently get into a big old fight over the whole dinner with Tim. We're going to see some things get rocky in Greece with Chantel and her new boy. And hopefully not too crazy, but we are going to see the aftermath of that dinner with John and Meg. I'm really excited. Please let me know all your thoughts on this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and comment and share, and subscribe if you haven't. If you're new here, I post recaps on 90 Day Fiancé, Love is Blind starting this week again, and anything you guys want me to do, just let me know in the comments. Let's get me to 500. My birthday is in 10 days. I would love to hit 500 subscribers before the end of February. So please help me reach that goal. Thank you guys, all of you that watch week after week. It's been a really fun 6 months, and I look forward to going with you. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.